All right, so we're live on the personals, going out to YouTube, Facebook, a few different places, and we're going to bring in our audience in our client groups. So, how's your morning been, brother?
Good morning, late afternoon for me already over here,
Of
other
course.
side of the US.
Of
But
course.
good.
Did you train today?
Heck yeah, we always do. That's part of our beautiful routine. Early morning, gotta get it done. How about you?
Yeah, I did, mate. I did. So got a good session in this morning. It's been weird. Like for this whole 75 hard, my goal was to kind of do 3 to 4 sessions a week, and then start doing some kind of like more body weight or resistance band workouts in between in the off days. But I was just like, there's something about going to the gym. Like I just love the environment. I don't know if you're the same, but I just love the environment. And if I've got the opportunity to either do it at home in like half an hour, 40 minutes, or go to the actual gym and enjoy the environment and actually train properly, I'm going to go to the gym every time, even though it's a bit of a disturbance. Don't have a lot of time left, obviously, after you fucking train for 3 hours in the morning, but it is what it is. How's your set?
Yeah, I
I see
I
you doing a bit
totally
more.
get that. I
I see
mean,
you doing a bit more.
there's
Sorry.
that way there and way back,
Correct,
but
yeah.
having solid equipment
Yeah,
and
exactly.
weights makes huge difference in the way you train and approach that session too, right?
Totally feel you, brother. Totally feel you. All right, guys, good morning. How's everyone? I hope you're having a beautiful start to the day. We're going to start this episode up in 2 minutes. Hey, Ash, how are you, mate? Lovely to have your company in here today. To all of our UK girls that just got off the coaching call, I hope you guys had a good time. And make sure that you say howdy and hi in the comments so we can shout you out and let you know that you're here. Now, you can see I'm joined by Coach Dom. And, hey, is this your first podcast, by the way? I just realised.
Hell yeah, it is.
Mate, you need to get on here a little bit more often, bro. I love your energy. So
Cool. Yeah, let's do
let's
it every week.
let's put you on test, mate, and see if we can make it happen.
Exactly. That's what we're gonna do.
All right, guys. So we're going to start this one up in 1 minute. I hope everyone has had a marvelous start to the morning. I'm letting you know as well, if to everyone that replied, I have locked in a print for our merch. So we've got a merch date. I'm going to send it out before I get over to the UK for the retreat. So we'll pop an order request up in the next week or so. So that's cool. Get you guys decked up coming into the change of seasons. So today we're going to be having a discussion around some lessons that both of us have learned so far this year. I thought this is a really, really great podcast to be able to bring Dom on and share some stuff. Particularly, it must be approaching the 6 mark or more now that you've been with us, right?
Little over, yeah.
A little over, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the US in a couple of weeks, mate. Are you psyched? You pumped?
Hell yeah. I mean, we're gonna talk about the first time we met here in a minute, so I'm very excited.
Good stuff. All right, guys, we're going to kickstart this in 30 seconds. And during the podcast, if you do have any questions you want to throw out or run by, I'll try to keep an eye on the comments section, although Facebook makes it a little bit hard for us to do, but I will try to keep that open. All right, you ready to kick this off, big boy?
Let's go.
Ready to go? Now, if you're coming in on my profile, for some reason it looks like the comment section's not working, so sometimes our streaming service does that. But anyway, let's get stuck into another episode of the podcast on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now today, this beautiful gentleman that you're seeing on your screen here, he looks like a more German, more attractive version of myself and far more intelligent, Mr. Dominic Fisher. Dom's been with us as a coach now for just over 6 months. I got the pleasure of meeting Dom a couple of months ago and bringing him into his first podcast episode. What we want to do here, guys, is we want to share some lessons, perhaps 2 or 3 each, that we've learned so far this year. Now, the reason we are doing this episode is because I think that a lot of people, they're kind of like a rush through life going from one thing to the other and to the other and to the other and to the other. And as parents, we know this, right? We're just so busy that we never have a chance to stop and reflect. I'm a huge believer in the idea that experience and either success or failures leaves clues and lessons. So if we don't take a moment just every now and then, maybe while we're multitasking as a parent, to look at the lessons that have been shown to us over the last 3 to 6 months and kind of reflect on what we've learned, I think we miss the opportunity to potentially get better or get unstuck, which is going to be the case for a lot of you. So I'll start the podcast by saying, Dommy, how are you, mate? Having a good start to the morning?
Well, first of all, thank you for that magnificent introduction here, mate. Love being here. Pleasure to be on the party. And we had an absolutely amazing morning. How about yourself?
Yeah, top of the world, bro. Top of the world. So I'm going to start with you. I'm going to give you the stage. First lesson for 2024. What have you come up with, mate? What's something, and let us know if this is a lesson that you think is applicable to all of us or something that you've it's deeply hit you and you've really needed to learn this firsthand.
Sure thing, absolutely. So first thing here for me really is actually the first time we met in Canada, Kelowna, going a couple months back. I think it was April, end of March, April, something like that. Mm-hmm. Around 5 months ago, we met up for a coaching seminar in Canada. And had the pleasure to meet you, your family, and a bunch of incredible human beings stacked up in a room over a full weekend. And standing there, I asked myself, hey, what is the difference between me and the other coaches around here? And I think this may apply to anybody, really. And I just really, the number one change I've done since then, above all, is switching up my sleep schedule, right? Switching up my sleep schedule, going to bed 9 p.m. and getting up at 5 a.m. every day since that weekend.
So what were you doing before? What did your schedule look like before?
Oh, no schedule at all. Just like going to bed late, 12 p.m., 1 a.m. sometimes, getting up early but not having enough sleep, no continuity on that end. But like the thing that annoyed me the most was, and that realization I had in Canada at that weekend was, like, the garbage time I just wasted it away at night. Like, what was I doing from 7, 8, 9, 10 to 11, 12? Like those last 3 hours I was awake.
Especially
what was I doing?
Especially at the moment you don't yet have kids, so it's not as if you've kind of got to get the kids to bed to get some respite. What were you actually doing? Like, what was occupying your time between 6 and 12?
I was still getting stuff done, but looking in the mirror, I was like, okay, like, let's be fair. How efficient, how effectively were you doing things? And like, if we scratch out all the horsing around your tasks, like, how much work were you really getting done? And the answer was not a lot, you know, like there was a lot of just, watching TV, just doing stuff that weren't contributing towards my goals, really.
And dude, I think this is a big thing. I think when there is not a person in the world that doesn't think they're busy. Like, everyone thinks they're busy. That's a human trait. But when you actually rationalize it and look, there's a lot of junk time in there, isn't there? Like, you space out your stuff, your to-dos over a longer period of time. And my problem, people will defend to the hilt that, yes, but I'm not a morning person. True. Like, and that's called, I think from memory, it's called a soma type. So it's actually a thing where people are morning people or nighttime people. That's not made up. The problem with it is that when you're at the end of the day, you're generally out of energy. You're tired, lethargic, because of the lack of light, your circadian rhythms and your hormones are in a wanting you to go to sleep pattern, but you're staying up, which means you're delaying a period of productive time. I totally get that, dude. So what does your kind of schedule look like now in terms of the changes that you made as a consequence of that? What do you do when you get up?
I love that point you made with I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person either. Like I hate talking in the morning. That's why I am up though before everybody's up, and I have an hour or two until I have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know? So until then, like I'm ready to go. I'm fired up. So yeah, actually cutting out that whole time at night, those 3-4 hours I'm not doing efficient work, and actually pulling my morning to 5 a.m. Those 3 hours, 5 to 8, have been the most effective time I've like, even in my 9 to 5 job back in corporate world, I wasn't working as efficiently, right? It was, so that morning time is sacred to me, right? Like my morning routine, it's not dialed in stone, but there's like a handful of things I get done every day until 8 a.m. hits from.
And you know, the great thing is when you're feeling like you're ahead of everyone else, it's not competitive. Like, you're not meaning to be competitive. But for example, I come home earlier on and I'm cooking mahi on the stove at 9:30 in the morning, and my mother-in-law says, "Are you having lunch now?" Yeah. Like, when you're having lunch when everyone else is having breakfast, it's a fucking great feeling. I'm just going to be straight up honest. So let's get into the next one. For me, my lessons, you know, I'm a little bit older than Dom perhaps, but these are more reminders for me or reflections than they are new lessons. And this one is, you know, your energy and your attitude is your choice. I noticed about 2 to 3 months ago that all my energy was so invested in just trying so hard to make things happen. And as a consequence, I was not bringing any real optimism and actual physical energy to the party. If you've been aware of a lot of the conversations that we've been having around Better Body Academy in the last couple of months, it's been around, you know, you become what you think about. And I caught myself being internally changed by things that were happening to me externally. Things that were challenging in life, things that weren't moving in the speed that I wanted them. I started to let that impact me and become part of my self-limiting story. So the question I've got for you, if you are watching this episode, is how much of your internal dialogue, how much of the way that you show up in your life, the way that you are now, the way that you talk to your partner, how much of that is determined by things that are happening at work, things that are happening in your health and fitness, things that are happening in your financial circumstances. What I know is that, or what I've had to realize over and over and over again, is if you keep thinking the same thoughts equivalent to that in your environment, you're just going to continue to get the same thing over and over again. It's like, why would anything change if all you're thinking is the same thoughts that you've always thought? And so when I become cognizant of this, I've really tried my heart out to operate from a place of gratitude. And that sounds so fucking cliche that if I heard that 5 or 6 months ago, I would have went, yeah, whatever. But actually, when you operate from a real point of going like, wow, like, yes, I want to be ambitious. Yes, I want more, but holy shit, things are good right now. Like, they really are. I've got beautiful, healthy kids. I've got a wife that loves me. I've got a fantastic academy full of 300 people that are fucking awesome. Like, realize what you've got. Because if you're coming from a lack mindset, a scarcity mindset, your ability to create abundance is zero chance. And if you wonder why your life's not changing, it's where you have set your mindset up. Does this make sense, team? Any kind of reflections or thoughts on that, Dom?
Yeah, I love that. It goes directly into self reflection too, right? And it's something that takes a lot of hard work and repetition
Yeah.
because, like, we're humans and we will constantly slip up in old ways. It
Yeah.
is hard.
Yeah. It's like the fucking cartoon banana peels where you just keep slipping over the same thing and wondering, like, uh, it's not that you're going to avoid it, it's having the awareness to be able to catch it. So let's go to your number two, bro.
Absolutely. So for me, I've written down alcohol.
Alcohol.
Alcohol for me has I need to rewind a little here to July of last year. Before we even met, I made the decision to not cut out alcohol, but give it a different place in my life. I'll elaborate a little bit what that means.
I was going to say that that's a mature way to put I'm going to drink less. I love that, dude.
Yeah, so I've always trained, and I've trained hard, and I've taken that serious, and I had my goals and I've worked towards them, but never really prioritized them and put them over everything. And the why was, for me, alcohol was always tied in, right? Getting drunk in the weekends was a non-negotiable. And yeah, I was working hard Monday to Friday and eating well, but getting drunk on the weekends was happening. Like, I never thought of, maybe that's something I shouldn't be doing. I was like, okay, so how do I get towards my goals? Well, yeah, at that night I'm drinking. Well, then I'll be hungover. Well, Monday and Tuesday will probably not be the most productive days. So it was always planning around
Wow.
my social drinking priority. And I
Wow.
never realized that I didn't have my priorities straight.
We've
I
got
wanted
we've got Carly saying in the comments, we could be best mates, Dommy. I was like that. It's the truth of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I was the guy who was the gasoline on the fire,
Yeah.
right? I'm the absolute bro who'll make sure we're the last people in the bar, and if the bar closes and we get kicked out, like, I'll find the next bar that's open another hour.
Yes.
So yeah, just giving alcohol a different place. Like, I'm not saying I didn't drink since July, but I drank 4 times in the last year, and it's pretty much been 1 year now.
Wow.
So just having, and with that, I've reached, like, in within 8 9 months, I've developed a body I've never thought I could have.
Just by
Just
that booze.
being clear of that's what I want, and everything else comes beneath. And yeah, that was a huge change of mindset there with alcohol. I don't know if you had
Yeah.
something similar.
No, I
Um,
did, mate. I remember thinking to myself, I would really like to do 75 hard. I remember thinking of it like over and over again, thinking of it. But then I just kept coming back to the fact that, but that means that I need to give up alcohol for 75 days. It's summer. I want to drink beer. Now, I'm not going to steal your lesson, but for me, it was like, hang on, how is it that guys like Coach Mike, have like just given it up? They just one day. I used to buy it as gratitude gifts. I used to buy Mike a bottle of whiskey every like 6 to 12 months. I don't buy him gifts anymore because he doesn't drink. I've got to find something else to give him. But the reality is, it is. I think for a lot of people, it's a problem. It's a life problem for so many people. It impacts our sleep. It impacts our clarity. It impacts definitely our ability to build muscle. It absolutely impacts our ability to maintain low levels of body fat, not just because of the calories, but the way it messes with our metabolism. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our capacity as parents. And if it is a problem for you, I think it's easy to say, just stop it. But I really like the approach that you've got with it, is to kind of step back and just look at it and just analyze it without judging it and think, how big of a problem is this in my life? Is this something that I can maybe take 2 to 3 weeks off and just see how I feel, and do I feel any different? For me, I haven't had a drink since the start of June, and I feel fucking amazing. And wow, the body is getting really good. It's like,
Hell yeah,
uh,
it is. And
um,
like what I wanted to add is it's all the things you name, but the stress we put on our body
yeah,
with like I don't want to demonize it, like, but we have to understand like the things are not only the stuff we hear all the time. It's just the stress with the alcohol we put on our body, and our body is trying to work through the alcohol, and everything else comes after. Like everything you're trying to build
yes,
is secondary,
yes,
right? And it's a huge slow,
yeah,
like the banana you throw in Mario Kart. Like it's a huge slip up, right? And it sets you back days over days. So yeah, just a little lesson there for me. Yeah.
I take that one. So I'll go to number two for me, and this, I think, if I was to do a lessons of the last 5 years, and I did one at the same time every five, this one would continue to come up for me. And the really challenging part about this is that it's the people that would need to hear this comment that are not listening to the podcast, that are not coming into the group. It's getting to the people that had good intentions at the start, but are now not showing up. And that is, you don't need more information. More often than not, you need less, simpler information. What you need is to be surrounded by people that support you in what you want to do, in the changes that you're trying to make. So if I look in my life, I am part of a high-level coaching mastermind. If I look at the great people that are in our coaching team, if I look at, particularly gelling with my men's mastermind group, who are just full of guys like Nick Friend and Steve Byron and Trent Cooper and like Clint Guyatt, Jason Eyes, these guys that are really wanting to win and challenge themselves on a higher level, yet be everyday men. I want people to lean on me, but I also need some support myself at times. And in those circumstances, if I have no one to lean on, including my partner, and she's not supportive of my goals, I'm just going to go back to my old self. And it's really hard when you look around, because as you want to start improving your life, my experience is that for a period of time, it starts to become lonely. Do any of you guys feel that? It starts to become lonely because all of a sudden you're moving away from going out, for example, and getting absolutely wasted. You want to spend time, peace on your own where possible, either with your kids or self-reflecting or reading a book, and people don't understand you and they say things to you like, you've changed and what's wrong with you, and rhetoric like that, which is trying to lure you back into the old self. People that really get involved in BBA. I mean, I know one of the guys watching here live is Terry Holden. I don't think Terry has ever missed a Monday, a midweek podcast. From episode fucking 1, he continues to show up. Maybe it's because he's a really nice guy, or maybe he's just connected that when he follows the process and gets involved, he stays healthy. He passes that on to his family. It's the people that kind of toe dip and sit on the outside. They convince themselves that, oh, I'm not a Facebook person. It's got fucking nothing to do with Facebook. And it's got everything to do with building a community around you. I just wish I was personally better, Dom, at convincing people to lean in when they want to lean out. What have you experienced in your life as you started to bring in kind of changes? What's your community like? I noticed, for example, you and your partner seem very supportive of each other's goals.
Yeah, absolutely. But it does become lonely because nobody else is as crazy as I am, and like just shuts down at 9 p.m., meaning he has to be in his apartment at 8
Yeah.
because otherwise he's not in bed by 9.
Yeah.
And who the hell, like, that's when everybody shows up and
Mm.
goes to dinner and has their first couple beers, no matter the day,
Yeah.
socializes, watches sporting events.
Yeah.
It's different, right?
I think there's
But yeah,
a value, particularly for men, because we are not as connecting as women. I think there's a value in going out and having a couple of beers and having great conversations. I think there's real value in that for men. But it's like, where does it tip over into, okay, this is becoming a problem for me, and it's no longer a community that's empowering me to actually move the direction I want. It just keeps dragging me back down. So there's probably a bit of fun.
yeah, and that's the hard part, right? The easy part is saying no after one or two drinks for me. The
Mm.
hard part is saying no after the third and fourth one, because
Yeah.
then you start getting that flow in. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a huge part of my corporate life, was connecting with people after work. And I was good at it because after 3, 4 drinks, imagine my personality when the barriers are down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm arm in arm with CFOs, CEOs. I don't give a damn what
Yeah.
stature they have. Like, we're bros,
Yeah.
and that's how I fight off connections. But yeah, I mean, it's
Take us to your lesson number 3, brother.
hell yeah. All right. So lesson number 3 for me is something I've implemented in my last vacation in Europe, as in downtime, breaks, vacation, whatever you want to call it, doesn't mean you stop working towards your goals, right? So whatever obstacles come along, or where my past self, for example, was like, oh yeah, you deserve time out, or the weekend comes, oh yeah, you get that drink, or vacation, oh yeah, man, you don't see your friends hardly, so let's get drunk. I actually woke up 5 a.m. on vacation and worked out, and got a bunch of my friends to work out
Wow.
almost every day. But I was up every day except for one, because we did have some drinks. But actually working towards my goals, I came home after that Europe trip fitter than I was before.
Wow.
Right. So that's been a huge mindset switch for me, as in, yeah, you get to be sick. Yeah, you get have roadblocks in your life. Things happen, but what do you really want, and why are you taking time off even though you still have time to work towards those goals?
A really good way to put it. It's like, yes, you can negotiate with yourself, but what do you want in your life? At the end of the day, if you start negotiating with yourself, it's at your peril. It's at your demise, because it's going to take you longer to achieve the things that you want in your life. That's a really, really good way to put it. Yeah. And I agree. At a certain point, you start to go, well, what is my list of non-negotiables? I think it's really good for you to come up with a list of non-negotiables in your life that you do no matter what. There might be a list of 5 to 10 non-negotiables. Yep, you can go on a holiday. Yep, you can do all the things you want. Yep, you can have an off week or a deload week. And yep, you can have a cheat week. You can do whatever you want. But you stick to these non-negotiables, because these non-negotiable gives you structure. They give you a framework of which to operate or exist in. And when you can depend on that structure, you don't feel the need to be constantly reliant on motivation. And that really is where I want to finish this podcast up with. My third lesson is that it's about taking messy action. I had a conversation with one of the boys yesterday in the group, and I'm not going to name names, but he just said to me, Jace, I have zero motivation at the moment, and we could repeat this lesson until we're black and blue, but I reckon half the time I'm completely unmotivated as well. And you might look at the surface and say, oh, Jace is motivated all the time. Nope, not really. when the alarm goes off at 4:30, 5 o'clock and I'm sitting, I don't want to get out of bed. It's not about waiting for motivation. Here's the key. One of the key findings that I've had in my life is that motivation, the feeling, let's not make this too crazy detailed. When you feel motivated, let me ask you, when was it? My bet was that you felt motivated after you did a gym session. You felt really motivated after you went for a walk. You felt really motivated after you got a task done at work. You felt really motivated after you did your first 10K run. You felt motivated as a consequence of something you did. So the lesson is motivation comes after you do something, not before it. And so many people are waiting to get motivated before they take action. You'll be waiting forever because some days you're just not going to feel like doing it. Some days you are just not going to feel like doing it. But when you get up and do the thing and you're willing to take messy, horrible B+ action, just imagine going to school, right? And your report card says, Dom did really well. He's a B+ student. B+ is enough to get you through. That's fine. That's completely fine. You don't have to pass with A's, straight A's. It doesn't matter. It's about consistently showing up over time. And that's when you feel you're most motivated. Yeah. So anything you kind of want to add to that as a final for you, bro?
No, I love that. I think there was always a question in corporate applying for a new job. The headhunter would sit there and ask, okay, so why, are you somebody who strives for perfect work, or are you just sometimes fine with getting the work done? And you would think the answer would always be, I want to be perfect. I'll work on the task until it's perfect and then I'll hand it in. But part of my growth goes exactly in line with what you just said, is accepting imperfect days and appreciating what you've done even in a horrible day, in an unproductive day, and appreciating the steps you have done and seeing that and then taking the next step tomorrow, right? It's huge.
And the reference that I always use is, in your relationship, are you perfect? No, definitely. In your fatherhood or motherhood, are you perfect? You would be the first to admit you are imperfect.
My girlfriend's watching.
And that's the thing. It's we are so imperfect in everything else, but because we're so desperate in our fitness journey to lose weight, to get in shape, to lose the old identity, we're so desperate. We're in so much pain that we need to be perfect. And that quest for perfection stops us from just fucking going for a 10-minute walk or just having a chicken salad. Just keep it simple, for God's sake. So, guys, we're going to love you and leave you there. How did Dom do? First podcast episode, I think pretty tidy. We love Dom's energy as a coach, and hopefully we can bring him back on the podcast soon. So there's the 6 lessons that we've taken out of 2024 so far. I think the big thing is that, our lessons are one thing. I challenge you to do this for yourself. Just literally stop, have a coffee, and take 5 minutes and ask yourself, what have I done this year? The year is 8.5 months over. What have you learned? What have you loved? What have you failed at? Why did you do that? Ask some questions so that you can let some of those lessons guide where you go for the back quarter of the year. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast. We'll see you guys in the next episode.